Hey everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul. We're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Making sure that individuals are reaching the goals they have set for themselves. That's one of the many goals of Assured Health Services. If you're looking for a residential care provider or searching for ADS services, Assured Health is your go-to place. Assured Health, helping others succeed. Learn more at assuredhealthohio.com or call 419-442-8066.
Well, it's a good question. Yeah, I actually started, it was about 1969, I think it was, that I began my public service career. And my first job actually in this field with this organization was a position that I took on a temporary basis, actually. It was to replace a teacher who was going to be out for 3 months. And I took the job as first job out of college, and I thought, well, let's just see what this is all about. And my first assignment actually was to work at what's called Columbus State Institute at that time. It's now called Columbus Developmental Center. And at that particular time, there were about 2,500 people who, for the most part, had intellectual disabilities that lived there. I taught at the school out there, and I used to spend time with folks. After teaching, I would walk the grounds. There was lots of big buildings, and it was an institutional setting, as you can imagine. And that's kind of where I started, and it went from there. I was a teacher for a few years, then became a supervisor, and then in the mid-'70s, I took a position as the director of the Ohio Special Olympics, and thoroughly enjoyed that, and I continued that for a while, and then came back here as an assistant superintendent, and have been superintendent for the last 23 years.
It isn't. I would hope it's becoming more common.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That is the goal. So our organization is Open Door Columbus, formerly Columbus Center for Human Services.
Okay.
So they received their 501c3 status in '82, kind of as a direct correlation with deinstitutionalization. Okay. First opening an intermediate care facility in '83. Okay. So my mother was the first social worker at that ICF in 1983.
Go way back.
Way back, yeah. I always joke with everyone at the office. Now I'm kind of walking the hallways and employed, but before that I was like just a 3-year-old running around for Easter Sunday, picking up random Easter eggs, like hopefully Easter eggs. I don't know what I was picking up at that time, but so it was kind of a natural direction, I suppose, for me. I kind of, as I grew, I volunteered specifically with our organization, but then various other organizations kind of related to this field. My mom's a social worker, LISW, so she kind of, has bounced to different locations. She was with Disability Rights Ohio and the state ombudsman, so I was always kind of connected. I ended up getting a degree in fine arts, much to the dismay of my father.
I think all of our parents are about that.
It was not the top choice. But the deal was, you go to OSU, and when you eventually decide you don't want to be a professional artist, you can fall back on something else, which joke's on him. I did not. But our organization did open a studio and gallery space in 2017, Open Door Art Studio and Gallery. So I knew that there was an artistic avenue within this organization. Turnover there is almost non-existent. So
wow,
I had to wait for a little while for a position to open. I did visual merchandising, and then when a position opened, I moved in as gallery director, and then eventually became program director, and I was there for about 10 years before moving to the corporate office, now serving as community relations manager.
I'm Dr. Craig Esquire, president of Intellectability. State developmental disability agencies managed care organizations, and providers across the United States use Intellectability's health risk screening tool, e-learn courses, and person-centered training to improve health equity for people with IDD. Visit replacingrisks.com to learn more about how you can employ these tools with people you support.
Well, mine is interesting, actually. I landed here in Columbus from Cleveland for a couple of reasons. One, I had an aunt who had a stroke, and we moved her down here between my cousin and myself. We figured she'd have a little more attention, care, visitors, and all that kind of stuff. So there's family. And then I was actually brought on to Creative. The timing was great to be kind of their in-house expert on new development.
Okay.
So they got some HUD 811 grants, and they were going to continue to pursue these grants. And I have an architectural background and other kind of expertise that rather than pay a consultant or whatnot, then we could do everything, handle everything in-house. So I actually came here for a short stint. I thought it was going to be a temporary gig. Never knew an organization like this existed, never knew about the industry, for lack of a better word. And, just the rewarding aspect of doing what I do to help people. Here I am 17 years later. Next month, it'll be 17 years. Nice. So, yeah, I was in my architectural background. I was doing a lot of tract homes and high-end homes. I had clients who would fly to France to get leather for their ceiling.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? And so, again, the whole being able to use my talents to help people was very, very, very good for me.
The Reliable Drug and Alcohol Testing Clinic is a leading provider and convenient source of pre-employment and occupational type testing. Their clinic provides services to a wide range of private businesses, healthcare facilities, and municipal and county courts. Reliable is an independent, locally owned clinic. As a result, they provide their services at a lower cost than the major hospitals, have faster turnaround times on test results, and eliminate the long waits typically incurred at these larger facilities. To learn more, visit reliabledrugtest.com.
Well, I've kind of made my job up my entire career.
That makes three of us.
And I've been fortunate because since 1973, or at least from 1973 to 2006, I worked for the state of Ohio. So I was kind of lucky that I hit the spots along that governmental regulated journey that enabled me to just kind of jump into change.
Yes.
What's going on. And I always said, I'm probably going to lose my job over this, but it's the right thing to do.
Here you are.
And it never happened. 34 years later, I retired and spent a couple years working slightly in a different field and then got the job with the Ohio Self-Determination Association. And I've been there since 2010 as their executive director. It's the best job I've ever had in my life.
Well, that's good.
I am an independent contractor on contract with them, and we kind of outsourced almost everything. So I only get to do the fun parts of what I did when I worked for the state, and I don't have to do a lot of personnel or rules and regs and all that kind of stuff.
Well, so my father actually worked at the Wood County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and so when I was in high school, I actually volunteered at their summer day camp, and I loved it. I just loved it. I didn't stay. I did that a couple years. I got out of it. I did some other things when I graduated high school, and I kind of returned back into the field as a DSP, actually, upon moving back to the Bowling Green area to work on my master's degree at BGSU. And so I worked for Wood Lane Residential as a DSP. I started off doing I was a sub, so a contingency. I could work when it was convenient for me. I wasn't sure what it would be like to be going to school, working a master's program. And so I wanted to make sure I had that flexibility, and I absolutely loved it. And it just kind of grew from there. I became a home supervisor, and then kind of both of my parents actually worked my dad worked for Wood County Board of DD. My mom worked for Wood County in a different department. And so they both were like, oh, you need to, work it for the county and get into, this PERS retirement system. So about, planning for the future, which is great. To those young folks out there, that is a good thing. So I was looking just at different positions, and ended up applying for a service and support specialist position with Lucas County Board of DD. And so then I got that position. I started in August of 2003, and they haven't. Here I am still. 20 plus years later. They did, yeah.
THS Remote Supports is clearly focused on improving independent living through dynamic and personalized services. Their systems have been carefully developed and perfected to ensure that everyone receives the best care through the least intrusive means possible. Located in Cincinnati, Ohio, they've spent over 20 years providing in-home supports to individuals with disabilities. If you or someone you know is looking for a remote service provider, go to thsrss.com or call 513-882-9088.